We've all heard it, right? Dark chocolate is the healthy one. It's the treat you can feel good about, packed with antioxidants. It's this little guilt-free pleasure we all love. But what if that whole story isn't quite the whole story? What if the very thing we're eating to be healthy is hiding a pretty dangerous secret? So today, we're going to peel back the shiny foil on our favorite health food and ask a really unsettling question. What's actually hiding inside your dark chocolate bar? Yeah, just let that sink in for a minute. We're not talking about cheap candy here. We're talking about premium brands, organic brands, the ones you trust. Independent lab tests have found some seriously dangerous levels of lead and cadmium, and honestly, the results are shocking. But how? How is this even possible? How are these things getting into our food? To really get what's going on, we have to understand where these metals are coming from. And spoiler alert, it's not some dirty factory. The problem starts way, way before the chocolate is ever even made. Okay, so let's break this down. It turns out there are two main ways this contamination happens, and each one involves a different heavy metal. First up, you've got cadmium. Think of cocoa trees like little sponges. They literally suck cadmium up from the soil, and it goes directly into the cocoa beans themselves. This is a huge problem in certain parts of the world, like Latin America, where the soil just has more of this stuff in it. The second bad guy is lead, and it gets in totally differently. This happens after the beans are picked, when they're laid out in the open air to dry. Dust that has lead in it just settles right onto the beans. And here's the really scary part. These aren't toxins that your body just flushes out. Nope, they're what scientists call bioaccumulative, which is just a fancy way of saying they build up in your body over your lifetime. Lead, as you see here, is a neurotoxin. There is no safe level for it. It gets into your bones, your tissues, and can really mess with your brain. Cadmium is just as nasty. It goes after your kidneys and your bones, and it can take, get this, up to 30 years for your body to get rid of just half of it. So every little square of chocolate you eat just adds to that total load. So you'd think there'd be rules for this, right? Protections in place? Well, here's the most wild part of all. It's all happening in a total regulatory vacuum. The FDA has no specific limits for lead or cadmium in chocolate. None. And that gap means these products can just sit on our store shelves forever with no warnings, no recalls, nothing. Which, of course, brings us to the part you've probably been waiting for, the really uncomfortable question. Which brands are we talking about? Because the test results from independent labs aren't just surprising. They force us to question the very words we trust on the label. Words like organic, premium, and healthy. Let's start with a fan favorite, Trader Joe's. So many health-conscious people shop there. You see that USDA organic seal and you think, great, this is the good stuff. But here's the thing, that organic certification has absolutely nothing to do with heavy metals. An organic cocoa tree will still pull cadmium from the soil just like any other tree. And to put a number on it, just one serving of their dark chocolate had 229%. That's more than double the daily amount of cadmium that's considered safe under California's super strict safety standards. It just goes to show that organic label we all rely on, it offers zero protection from this specific danger. Okay, so what if you just pay more? You go for a premium brand, right? Surely a fancy Swiss chocolate like Lindt would be safer. Well, unfortunately, a high price tag doesn't guarantee a clean product. In fact, sometimes it's the exact opposite. Their 85% cocoa bar, the kind people buy specifically for the health benefits, tested at 166% over the safe daily limit for lead. And this is the painful irony here. Because these heavy metals are found in the cocoa solids, the higher the cocoa percentage, the higher the dose of toxins you could be getting. And then there's Hershey's. I mean, it's an American icon. Their special dark bar has been sold for ages as that healthier choice, for people watching their sugar. And this is just a perfect and kind of painful example of how much we trust brands. The Hershey's Special Dark Bar tested at a mind-blowing 265% over the safe daily limit for lead. That is almost 3 times the safe amount for a whole day in one bar marketed as the healthy option. And look, it's not just those 3. This problem is all over the place. As you can see here, brands that build their whole reputation on being ethical, like Tony's Chocolonely, high in cadmium. Bean-to-bar darlings like Theo, also high in cadmium. Even the super fancy luxury brands like Godiva, high in lead. The real takeaway here is that no label, not ethical, not premium, and not organic, is going to protect you from this. Okay, I know this is a lot. It feels pretty overwhelming and, frankly, a bit depressing. But the goal here is not to scare you away from chocolate forever, it's to empower you. So let's talk about what you can actually do to make safer choices. So, what does a safer brand even look like? Well, it really comes down to one thing: radical transparency. You want to look for the companies that aren't hiding anything. They actually publish their heavy metal test results for you to see. They tell you exactly where their cocoa comes from, and they try to avoid the most contaminated regions. And this is a big one: they test every single batch to make sure it's safe. And the good news is, these brands do exist. Smaller companies, often these bean-to-bar makers like Taza, Alter Eco, and Mast, are really leading the charge here. They put their data out there, they're picky about where they get their beans, and they take this whole issue seriously. Yeah, they might cost a bit more, but what you're really paying for is that extra peace of mind. But hey, even beyond hunting for a specific brand, you have a lot of power in just how you eat chocolate. Here are 3 super simple steps you can take right now. 1. Rotate your brands. Don't just eat the same bar every day. This keeps you from building up too much of any one metal from a single source. 2. Think moderation. Maybe dark chocolate isn't a daily health food, but more of a sometimes treat, a few times a week. And 3, and I know this sounds totally backwards, think about a lower cocoa percentage. It's true, milk chocolate generally has way, way lower levels of these heavy metals. At the end of the day, real change is only going to happen when we, the people buying this stuff, demand it. So the next time you're in that chocolate aisle, faced with that wall of options, the real question is, now that you know what could be hiding inside the wrapper, what are you going to look for?